We are back with the next part of a game of Turnabouts. The next and final part, but not next and final video. So, well, Raul Barr, admit it. You were the one behind the murder of Alstrada 3 years ago. You were the only one that could reach the city without being seen proves this fact. That's your motive for killing Alstrada. You wanted to stop the game before your crime was brought to light. Egads! The defense has made its accusation, Herr Barr. If it stands, this court has no choice but to consider you a suspect. So, tell us what you know. Now is the time for you to defend yourself. Your accusation does make a lot of sense. I just wonder what Barr's rebuttal is going to be. Fine. You want to hear the truth? The real truth? I know who was behind the murder 3 years ago. What? You're denying that you were involved with Miss Strada's death? That's right. I didn't kill her, nor did I kill her father. But I know who did. I've kept it hidden these past 3 years. What possible reason could you have for hiding who the culprit was? You'll soon understand. You'll see. The one who murdered Alstrada was Grace? No, not Grace. Alstrada himself. That man murdered his own daughter. I don't think so. So maybe. If he did it before the party, then maybe he has some form of argument. What? What? Order! Order! What's this about, witness? It's the truth. I swear on my life. The killer from 0 years ago was the victim's own father. I admit that this was not a possibility that I has considered. What possible reason could you have to suspect Mr. Strutter, of all people? As I told you, I have known the truth for quite a while. However, Strutter was an important business associate of mine. So I decided to keep quiet all this time to protect both of our reputations. And how did you find out that Arcus was the culprit exactly? You haven't figured it out? Tisk, very well. I will explain it all. Prepare yourselves. Hold on. As you can see, I have other cases lined up after this, including Turnabouts of the father. So, 3 years ago, Arcus Strutter murdered his own daughter 3 years ago. The murder didn't occur during the party, but instead before any of the guests arrived. Okay, that's why none of the guests saw Strutter's daughter before her body was found. This entire game was nothing more than a ploy for Strutter to direct suspicion away from himself. Wow. Already an objection. Give me a break. You're clearly lying to save your own skin. The fact that you try to pin Ada's murder on our own father is just sickening. Oh, I'm telling you, it's the truth. Objection! As outlandish of a theory as it might seem, we can't discount it without good reason. Well, Fraulein, can you prove the victim's innocence? There's got to be some way for me to disprove Barr's accusation. Strutter provided us with all of the evidence from that case. There has to be something. Whew. Okay. So, what reason would he have? This, maybe? This might be. But other than that, maybe that, but eh. Suppress? Surely you understand how ridiculous that sounds. What motive would Strider have to kill his own daughter? Who knows? He was a mysterious man. Perhaps the loss of his wife ended up driving him insane. Whatever the reason, you cannot deny the possibility because the murder didn't occur during the party, but instead before any of the guests arrived. Do you have proof of that claim? Of course. As was stated, nobody was seen going upstairs during the party, until that kid first found the body. Huh. That means that the murder could only have happened before we arrived. But I've already shown how you could have reached the study without being seen. In that case, I'll pose you the same question. Do you have proof that I used a secret passage in the library on that night? Well, no accusations can be made without solid proof one way or the other. And if Herr Stratter really was the culprit 3 years ago, then our witness would go back to having no motive for the murder. Gives me two options. Prove our guilt in the case 3 years ago, or prove Stratter's innocence. That's why none of the guests saw Stratter's daughter before her body was found. That isn't solid proof that Isla died before the party began, though. There's still a chance that she was alive when the guests first arrived. As long as nobody claims to have seen her, a chance is all that it is. Guess I can't disprove that if there's no proof that Isla was still alive. I guess I can't disprove that that there's no proof. Oh my god. I guess I can't disprove that there's no proof that Isla was still alive at the time. There. Fix that for you. Or if I'm wording is so weird. Wording is weird at times in English, okay? Even I, a native English speaker in America, is actually good at grammar. In general. Times I fail, but those are very rare. As one would actually be able to tell just by asking, say, a professor or a teacher or whatever, whoever has seen my writing, they would be able to vouch for me. So this entire game was nothing more than a ploy for Starter to direct suspicion away from himself. That's insane. There's no way it could be true. Why would Starter wait 3 whole years to hold his murder mystery, if that was his goal? Who can say? The man was clearly deranged. Even you must have noticed that he wasn't all there. Okay. I can't deny the craziness of his plot. But that doesn't mean I believe that he'd be capable of killing his own daughter. There has to be some way to prove that Starter wasn't the culprit. That's the person I expect the bar to accuse. He has to be lying. There's no way Starter did all that. After he set up this whole game for the purpose of finding the true killer. I agree. You'll need to shoot down Bar's theory. The evidence Starter left behind in the murder mystery game was all recreated from 3 years ago. It means there might be something among that evidence that could help us. So I should look at the evidence that we gathered on the night of the murder. Let's see here. Well, he was a snoop, so... I mean, Let's see here. Well, I do see a pattern that involves, so basically, Mr. and Mrs. Barr are accomplices. Basically, Mrs. Barr brings him the knife, goes through the passage, kills. He did that twice. But I just need to figure out what to present here. There might be something among that evidence that could help us, so I should look at the evidence we gathered on the night of the murder. Dr. Starry murdered his own daughter 3 years ago. So why? I don't know. So I'm just doing whatever at this point. Have no clue what to present. Maybe a roll? Maybe this? There we go! There's no way that Sarah was the culprit 3 years ago. Maybe we have more than just sentimentalism to back that up. Mr. Barr, surely you must know about Orchestra's accident. Oh, right. Right. I should have figured that one out just by looking at, I was like, right hand. I forgot about the fact that he had an accident where he needs a friggin' glove. Man's life has been full of accidents. What are you talking about specifically? The traffic accident, in which he lost his wife, Isla's mother. The victim lost his wife as well as his daughter? How tragic. The traffic accident happened while Isla was very young, and although he was able to save his daughter, Strider was hurt quite badly. So what? Are you trying to use that incident to drum up sympathy for Arcus? It doesn't matter what he did back then, he's still a killer. That's not what this is about. As a result of the accident, Arcus Strider's right side was covered in burn scars. I'm sure the coroner saw this themselves during the autopsy. To hide this, he would always wear a glove on his right hand. But what's your point? It's simple. This fact proves Strider couldn't have killed his daughter. It does? As we discussed, the evidence left in the manor for the murder mystery game is all a recreation of the evidence found during the investigation of Isla's murder. What I'd like to draw attention to is the murder weapon, the knife. It's a steak knife, just like the weapon used to kill Arcus Strider. However, this knife has a bloody print from a right hand on the handle. Yeah, I do believe that was the case 3 years ago. Wait a second. Did you say it was a right hand print? Ah, I can see that you've realized where the problem lies. Arcus Strider always wears a glove on his right hand. It would have been impossible for him to leave this handprint behind. Oh my! Ah, and that handprint belongs to Killer. Right, Strider couldn't have done it. Who's to say that Arcus didn't simply take off his glove before killing her? Weren't you listening? The entire right of his body was covered in burn scars. Although they were too smudged to identify, the killer did leave their fingerprints on the knife handle. The Strider's right hand would be nothing but scar tissue. Couldn't leave no prints. This evidence proves Arcus Strider's innocence and Isla's death, leaving you as the only possible culprit. I say. And so is it then. This witness remains the only suspect in the case 3 years ago. No, I'm not finished yet. He's still not admitting it. There's still one thing you haven't explained. Something that makes it impossible for me to be the killer. What might that be? A murder weapon. As you just told us, it was a steak knife from the dying call. I already figured it out, though! I already figured that out! Just as you can see from Sarah's testimony, I never went to the dying hall that night. That means I had no chance to retrieve the weapon that took the victim's life. Suppose that is true. Who cares about that? I'm sure you had some way of getting it, yes. Grace Barr! But it doesn't matter, because you were still the only one who could have killed Isla. Easy, Fairline. You can already make that claim if the witness has shown it to be an impossibility. You will need to prove how Herr Barr got his hands on that knife 3 years ago, if you want your accusation to stick. Consider it an encore. There must have been some way for him to retrieve the knife from the dying hall. Strider would see him enter the room. How do you take something from a room without going inside it? By having an accomplice! Maybe it's time for me to turn my thinking around. Instead of thinking about how Barr could have done something without Strider witnessing it, I should be thinking about the things that Strider did witness. Yes. 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 It was a way for you to retrieve the murder weapon 3 years ago. All you needed was the help of a certain someone. You're saying that a witness had an accomplice? That's right, Your Honor. Ronald Barr enlisted the help of a certain someone to retrieve the knife from the dining room. His wife, Grace Barr, was an accomplice. Explain yourself! It's true that you couldn't have picked the knife up by yourself, because you never went into the dining room that night. In that case, the suspicion should naturally fall on the person who did enter that room. So this testimony tells us that Grace was the only one. Of course, Grace didn't go into the library at all, meaning she couldn't have she couldn't have killed Isla herself. But Starter did witness the two of you talking in the main hall. She could have used that opportunity to slip you the knife. Oh my! From there, the crime would progress as we stated before. The witness could have used the secret passage in the library to reach the upstairs hallway, and enter the study where the victim was, without being seen by her father. Then, after stabbing her with a knife, he used the passage to return to the library where he stayed until the body was found, creating the illusion that none of the guests could have reached the crime scene. Octoon, a perfect explanation of the crime. Wait just a second. Even if it does appear to make some kind of sense, you can't prove this to be anything more than a possibility. Are you attempting to prove that Grace was my accomplice? There's only one thing we can do. I'd like to call Grace Barr to the stand. Let's hear what she has to tell us about the events that took place 3 years ago. No. You can't. You can't! Wow. 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 Please state your name and occupation for the court. My name is Grace Barr. I'm married to Ronald Barr. Mrs. Barr, do you know why you've been called to the stand today? Yes, the bailiff explained it to me. I see. Fräulein. Take it away. Right. Miss Barr, please tell us about the murder 3 years ago. Your role therein. Everything you've said is true. Wow. Wow. I'll keep this going for a little bit longer. 3 years ago, I agreed to help Ronald with his plan. Well, perhaps agreed is the wrong word to use. How so? The last thing I wanted was for my husband to hurt anybody. There was no way I could stop him as long as Arcus's daughter knew his secret. The secret that Ronald Barr was the one behind the illegally sold information. That night before the party, he threatened me. He said he'd hurt me if I didn't go along with his plan. What? As if that man hadn't done enough despicable things already. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. That's why I helped him. I went to the dining room and took a steak knife from the table. Then, in the main hall, I discreetly passed it to Ronald. We did it that way because Ronald thought that he was less likely to be suspected if he could prove that he never went inside the room that the weapon came from. That's when he went into the library. He'd known about the secret passage from a previous visit to Strider Manor, but kept it secret. It's all done to stop that girl from talking. I kept it quiet for these past 3 years out of fear for my own life. I'm so sorry for everything I've done. I think I'll stop the video here, YouTube. See you next time.